I am Natasha Busst and this is Nightline. The top stories. Don't disrupt efforts to help the urban poor, warns PM. And 70% of MRSM and boarding school intakes to opt for STEM. Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has issued a stern warning to the opposition on Saturday, urging them not to disrupt or betray the government's efforts to uplift the urban poor. The Prime Minister also stressed that the proposed urban renewal bill aims to improve living conditions for low-income residents who have long been trapped in rundown, dilapidated flats. Speaking at the launch of Wakaf Mara Madani at the World Trade Center Kuala Lumpur, Anwar said that the government is fully committed to upgrading old urban apartments, some of which have stood for decades. However, he expressed disappointment that certain political leaders were turning the issue into controversy and inciting the public to protest against the initiative.
Saya nak beritahu mereka, jangan sabar kita. Kalau kita nak bela nasib orang miskin, majoriti Melayu, sebagian kecil India dan juga Cina sedikit, dan kamu nak ganggu, kita akan, kalau dia buat himpunan, kita boleh buat himpunan satu stadium untuk pertahankan dasar membela nasib orang Melayu ini.
The Prime Minister also criticized those who are politicizing the proposed bill, clarifying that the law will not change land ownership status, including strata titles.
Dan yang menentang ini Melayu. Guna atas nama Parti Melayu, Parti Islam. Apa dia pernah cadang untuk tolong Melayu? Tidak ada. Ada dia pernah cadang apa nak dilakukan untuk membela nasib Melayu miskin di bandar? Tidak ada.
Previously, media reports revealed that PAS Youth was planning to hold a larger-scale protest, claiming that the urban renewal bill would not benefit the people. On another matter, 70% of Form 4 students admitted to Maktab Rendah Sains Mara, MRSM, and boarding schools starting next year must choose the Science, Technology, Engineering and Mathematics stream, or STEM. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim said the requirement is necessary as students have shown a declining interest in STEM.
Tahun depan, tanpa kecuali, semua MRSM, sekolah menengah sains, semua sekolah menengah asrama penuh, kita mulakan begitu. 70% kemasukan baru mesti dari aliran STEM. Kalau tidak, kita tidak akan terima. Ada ibu bapa yang tidak akan senang, ada tekanan dari ketua-ketua politik. Saya percaya Datuk Seri Zahid punya kekuatan to say no when necessary.
At the same time, Anwar urged stakeholders to revive students' interest in STEM. He further explained that the new requirement aligns with the country's latest policies focusing on emerging technologies. Meanwhile, on the Wakaf Mara Madani, the Prime Minister highlighted it as a key initiative to strengthen the Malay and Bumiputra agenda. According to Anwar, the initiative encourages alumni who have benefited from Mara's programs to give back, ensuring a brighter future for the next generation.
Cadangan Wakaf Madani ini menunjukkan bahawa sudah sampai ke tahap di mana bukan sahaja kita menerima peluang dan peruntukan, masa kita menunjukkan kita adalah bangsa yang bermaruah, boleh menentukan masa depan kita.
He reiterated that the government remains firmly committed to Bumiputra empowerment policies, particularly in enhancing social mobility for the community. He also stressed that Mara will continue to play a crucial role in driving this agenda forward. During this event, both the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Datuk Seri Ahmad Zahid Hamidi, each contributed 1,000 ringgit to the Wakaf Mara Madani Fund. The launch of Wakaf Mara Madani coincides with the 59th anniversary of Mara. Kuala Lumpur is set to be the focal point as leaders from ASEAN member states gather for the 46th ASEAN Summit, scheduled for May 26th and 27th. Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Muhammad Hassan confirmed that all 10 ASEAN leaders will be in attendance.
Sidang kemuncak ketua-ketua negara ASEAN akan berlangsung 26 bulan itu, majlis makan malam dan juga sidang kemuncaknya. Lepas tu 27 bulan ASEAN punya ketua-ketua negara akan bersama-sama pula dengan ketua-ketua negara daripada negara-negara teluk GCC, ya.
Meanwhile, the ASEAN Summit with dialogue partners is slated for late October, which will bring together ASEAN nations and their 10 dialogue partners, including China, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and the United States. The agenda will feature high-level meetings such as ASEAN Plus 3, ASEAN Plus 1, the East Asia Summit, and the ASEAN Regional Forum, along with bilateral discussions between participating nations. The exact date for the ASEAN Dialogue Partner Summit will be finalized once all participating nations reach a consensus. Malaysia officially assumed the ASEAN chairmanship in January under the theme Resilience and Sustainability, reflecting its commitment to fostering a united and prosperous ASEAN. A total of 48 families affected by the recent storm in Taman Ria, Sekinchan have received a one-off financial aid amounting to 30,000 ringgit to help repair their damaged homes. The initiative, spearheaded by the Sekinchan State Assembly Service Centre, aims to assist victims following the March 11th disaster. According to Sekinchan Assemblyman Dato' Ng Swee Lim, the financial assistance was distributed based on the extent of the damage. Families who suffered severe damages received 500 ringgit, while families with moderate damage received 300 ringgit. Additionally, a total of 20,000 ringgit was donated to 10 mosques, while 20 suraus each received 500 ringgit. 5 families were taking shelter at the temporary relief center in Dewan Sri Sekinchan as they wait for repair work to be completed on their homes. The storm on March 11th destroyed 48 houses in Taman Ria, marking the second such incident in a week, following an earlier storm in Kampung Parit 4 on March 6, which left 8 homes severely damaged. Despite making up a large portion of the workforce in Malaysia, the number of women taking up leadership roles is still disproportionately low. This imbalance reflects ongoing structural barriers and societal expectations that continue to limit women's advancements into leadership positions.
Shireen, how are you?
According to Women Entrepreneur Network Association, WENA President Shireen Rose Muhammad Sha'ari, women still face challenges in advancing their careers in both the corporate and entrepreneurial sectors due to cultural influences.
There's a gap between wanting to do it because of an age-old adage or understanding how women come forth. And I think this conversation of the empowerment is masculine and support is feminine needs to change.
She also urged women to distinguish themselves in order to secure leadership roles in both business and corporate spaces.
Women could be participating in panels, workshops, conferences, present papers, create presence. They need to own the space that they choose to hold. We can't go into a space that says, when's my turn? You don't need permission.
Shireen said this on an episode of TV3's flagship business and financial talk show, Money Matters, which was aired on Saturday. She also urged women to identify strategies that can help build and sustain high-value networks, which can lead to opening up real opportunities. Last week, Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim called for adequate space and opportunities to be given to women in all aspects of the nation's development, stressing that attention must be given to this matter since there is a lack of involvement among women, including at the policy-making level. A courier company's collection and operations hub in Meru, Klang, suffered losses of 46,000 ringgit after being robbed by 3 masked criminals. Klang Utara District Police Chief, Assistant Commissioner S. Vijaya Rao, confirmed receiving a report on the robbery lodged by a 21-year-old clerk from the courier company. The robbery had gone viral on social media, with a 46-second CCTV footage circulating showing the 3 assailants threatening the staff at the delivery hub with their weapons. According to the report, the robbery took place at 12:26 p.m. on Friday, while the hub was in the process of counting the day's collected cash. The 3 masked men, armed with machetes, arrived at the location in a blue car and fled with 46,000 ringgit in cash. However, no injuries were reported in the incident. Police were locating the suspects, and the case is being investigated under Section 395 and Section 397 of the Penal Code for gang robbery and armed robbery, respectively. The police are actively hunting down the 2 remaining members of an armed robbery gang who were involved in a shootout with police recently. Selangor Police Chief Datuk Hussein Omar Khan on Saturday said investigations are ongoing into the gang's involvement in house break-ins and robberies. Hussein said the police mobilized resources to apprehend the 2 suspects as soon as possible after 3 members of the gang were shot dead in a firefight with police in Sepang in the early hours on Friday. Police believe that the 3 were behind at least 17 robberies and house break-ins. Investigations found that the criminals would return to their home country after committing offences and later re-enter Malaysia to continue their activities. In the incident at around 3 a.m. on Friday, officers had been deployed following a homeowner's report of a break-in. A police team then took decisive action and hunted down the suspects, who were found hiding in a forested area near a water tank. The men, aged 35 to 40, attacked officers with machetes before being shot dead. Police have arrested 13 Nepalese factory workers in connection with a riot after a clip showing hundreds of foreigners blocking the road went viral on social media. Hilir Perak Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Dr. Bakri Zainal Abidin said preliminary investigations indicated that the riot stemmed from a fatal hit-and-run accident involving a pedestrian who is also a foreigner at Batu Lapan, Jalan Cangkat Jong on Friday night. Bakri said police were alerted to the accident involving the pedestrian at around 9:35 p.m. Investigations showed that 1,000 workers from a nearby factory had gathered on the road and obstructed the flow of vehicles. A team from the Teluk Intan Police Headquarters were deployed to calm and control the situation, which was fully restored by 2 a.m. after all factory workers returned to their dormitories. The 13 people were detained to assist in the investigation into the case. The foreigners are being investigated under Section 147 of the Penal Code for rioting. Meanwhile, the hit and run is being investigated under the Road Transport Act for causing death by reckless or dangerous driving. The charred remains of an 84-year-old man has been found after a fire gutted 3 terrace houses in Taman Permas Jaya, Johor. The blaze was reportedly started at around midnight on Friday. The victim was identified as Muhammad Aris Samar, while his 57-year-old daughter and 3 grandchildren aged between 16 and 21 escaped the incident unharmed. According to the Johor Jaya Fire and Rescue Station, a team of 33 firefighters were deployed to the scene after they were alerted to the fire at 12:13 a.m. The victim was found with 70% burns on the upper floor of a house and was confirmed dead by medical personnel. The blaze was brought under control at about 2 a.m. and the operation was fully completed about an hour later. Norris goes fastest at Albert Park. Actions from the Australian Grand Prix after this breather.
Kita dah biasa bertahun membesar, dah bercakap. Tapi bila kita masuk komuniti mereka, sangat senyap. Tangan-tangan ini adalah bahasa mereka.
Kalau tanpa jurubahasa isyarat tadi, mungkin anak guam saya ini tidak boleh membela diri tanpa diwakili oleh seorang penguasa.
Ada rasa kekosongan dalam hati tu. Jiwa saya rasa kosong sangat ya, mencari Tuhan. 10 tahun tu kerja saya menolak Islam je sebab takkan nak tukar agama, nak tinggalkan mak apa semua kan.
Jenayah berlaku di sekeliling kita.
Keluar.
Tiada siapa yang terkecuali daripada menjadi mangsa. Yang bersalah pasti menerima pada. Ramadan ini 999 membantras jenayah. Setiap Selasa 9 malam.
Jenayah membawa pada.
Indahkan memori Ramadan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Roti girl.
Kita tolong membantu saja tau.
Jangan lupa tengok rancangan Ana Mama Masak Apa Tu.
Setiap Ahad jam 7 malam hanya di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Kepada rindu yang tersesat, semoga lekas menemukan jalan pulang.
Kenapa dia tak angkat call aku ni?
Tak, kau ni sensitif.
Nanti saya potong lu punya gaji tau. Betul balik kereta ni.
Kau jaga bini kau jaga keluarga kau. Tak payah campur urusan aku.
Saya haramkan jejak rumah tu. Faham?
Keluarga Itu, Jumaat hingga Ahad 9 malam di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
We're back with sports. Formula One, the 2025 Australian Grand Prix. Lando Norris claimed pole position for the season opening at the Albert Park as his teammate Oscar Piastri completed a McLaren front row lockout on Saturday. Piastri went to the top of the time sheet but was eclipsed by Norris moments later as the Briton delivered a 1 minute 15.096 seconds to better his teammate by almost a tenth of a second. Max Verstappen, seeking a fifth successive driver's title, completed an impressive recovery from his Friday practice struggles to take third for Red Bull, but managed to stay ahead of Mercedes' George Russell, who finished in fourth. Ferrari, which appeared to be McLaren's biggest challengers, struggled as both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton could only manage 7th and 8th, respectively. They were stunned by a surprise third-row lineup of Racing Bulls' Yuki Tsunoda and Williams' Alex Albon, who delivered brilliant laps in the closing moments of the session. Alpine's Pierre Gasly was 9th, while Carlos Sainz completed the top 10 on his Williams debut. On to MotoGP now, the 2025 Argentine Grand Prix. Marc Marquez made it 2 poles in a row with a new lap record in qualifying at Termas de Rio Hondo, edging his younger brother and Gresini rider Alex on Saturday. After sweeping pole position plus the sprint and Grand Prix wins at Buriram, Marquez clocked 1 minute 36.917 seconds to take the Termas pole by 0.246 seconds over his brother. Johan Zarco held on to an excellent third for Honda first front row since Mugello 2023, while Francesco Bagnaia ran wide at turn 5 and could not rise higher than 4th place. The Italian will start alongside the top KTM of Pedro Acosta and Fabio Di Gianantonio's VR46 Ducati. Reigning world champion Jorge Martin remains absent due to left wrist injuries from a pre-season training accident, which followed right hand and left foot damage on the opening day of the Sepang test. The 12-lap Argentine sprint race starts at 3 p.m. local time. Moving on to football, the Saudi Pro League. Cristiano Ronaldo scored again to set Al Nassr on their way to a 3-1 home victory over Al Kholoud on Friday, moving them into third in the table and keeping their faint title hopes alive. Al Nassr's big-name attacking stars stole the show in the first half, with Ronaldo opening the scoring in the 4th minute and Sadio Mane doubling their lead inside half an hour with a smart move down the left-hand side. New signing John Duran made it 3-0 before half-time, but it was not plain sailing for the hosts as Nawaf Bouchal got sent off for a foul just outside the area. Capitalizing on the extra man advantage, the visitors pulled one back with 18 minutes to go, making it a nervous finish for the Yellows. However, Al Nassr held on until the final whistle, putting them 10 points behind league leaders Al Ittihad and 3 points behind arch rivals Al Hilal as the title race heats up. On to tennis, the 2025 Indian Wells Open. World number 1 Aryna Sabalenka ended Madison Keys' 16-match win streak with a dominant straight-set victory in their semi-finals clash on Thursday. In a rematch of January's Australian Open final, the Belarusian dominated the 52-minute match, clinching a perfect 6-0, 6-1 victory and handing Keys her first loss since Auckland. Sabalenka's victory puts her into her second Indian Wells final, where she will face 17-year-old Mira Andreeva on Sunday. Earlier, Andreeva ended defending champion Iga Swiatek's bid for an unprecedented third Indian Wells women's title, toppling the world number 2 7-6, 1-6, 6-3. The Russian has now defeated the Polish star for the second time in 3 weeks, having previously beaten her in the quarterfinals in Dubai to become the youngest ever WTA 1000 champion. With this latest victory, the 17-year-old now has a chance to claim another prestigious title on Sunday. Mark Carney sworn in as new Canadian Prime Minister. The details when Nightline returns.
Kita dah biasa bertahun membesar, dah bercakap. Tapi bila kita masuk komuniti mereka, sangat senyap. Tangan-tangan ini adalah bahasa mereka.
Kalau tanpa jurubahasa isyarat tadi, mungkin anak guam saya ini tidak boleh membela diri tanpa diwakili oleh seorang jurubahasa.
Ada rasa kekosongan dalam hati tu. Jiwa saya rasa kosong sangat ya, mencari Tuhan. 10 tahun tu kerja saya menolak Islam je. Sebab takkan nak tukar agama, nak tinggalkan mak apa semua kan.
Kes yang selama ini kita dengar,
dia bunuh anak kita, campak pula tepi jalan.
kini dirungkai satu persatu.
Dia pujuk untuk kembali tidak diterima. Aku dah tanang kau.
Daripada polis yang menyiasat.
Dia cuba nak larikan diri tapi terkenal juga dia.
Wartawan yang membongkar dan pakar forensik yang menganalisis. Fail Mahkamah ada jawapannya. Setiap Rabu 9 malam. Indahkan memori Ramadan di TV3 dan stream sekarang melalui Tonton.
Roti girl.
Kita tolong membantu saja tau.
Jangan lupa tengok rancangan Ana Mama Masak Apa Tu.
Setiap Ahad jam 7 malam hanya di TV3 dan stream juga melalui Tonton.
Burung kenari terbang ke awan, sinar jingga terangi awan, indahkan memori di bulan Ramadan di TV3 siaran pilihan. Dalam kesederhanaan kita capai kemuliaan, dalam kesabaran kita raih kemenangan. Salam Ramadan daripada saya, Fitri Yahya.
Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte failed to attend in person an initial hearing at the International Criminal Court on Friday as he faces crimes against humanity charges over his deadly crackdown on narcotics. The 79-year-old instead followed by a video link during a short hearing to inform him of the crimes he is alleged to have committed as well as his rights as a defendant. Presiding Judge Yulia Botok allowed him to follow proceedings in absentia due to his long flight to The Hague. During the call, Duterte's lawyer told the court that his client had been abducted from his country, adding that it was plain kidnapping. The lawyer also said that Duterte was suffering debilitating medical issues. However, Motok reiterated that the court doctor was of the opinion that Duterte was fully mentally aware and fit. She then set a date of September 23rd for the next stage of the process, which is a hearing to confirm the charges. In Thailand, 7 people were killed and nearly 30 injured on Saturday when an under-construction expressway bridge collapsed onto a road. A concrete beam structure for the new bridge collapsed onto an existing expressway bridge at around 1:48 a.m. local time in the Chom Tong district. According to officials, at least 7 people were killed and 27 others were injured. It was reported that at least 30 people were trapped under debris and operations were being carried out with caution from a risk of further collapse. Investigations into the cause of the collapse are ongoing. Mark Carney on Friday delivered remarks vowing to never become a part of the United States. The newly sworn-in Canadian Prime Minister also made clear that Donald Trump's administration talk of annexing Canada was crazy.
Personally, I've been clear. The ministers behind me, I think to an individual, when asked, have been clear that we will never, ever, in any way, shape or form, be part of the United States.
Shortly after he was sworn in as Canada's 24th Prime Minister, Carney said confronting Trump's tariffs would be a top priority. Carney also said Canada expects respect from the U.S. while voicing hope that his government could find ways to work together with the Trump administration. Meanwhile, Carney is expected to announce an election in the coming days, reflecting both the urgency of Canada's trade war with the U.S. and the awkward reality that as Prime Minister without a seat in Parliament, he is unable to attend sessions of the House of Commons. On another matter, the Trump administration has said that it is considering issuing sweeping travel restrictions for the citizens of dozens of countries as part of a new ban. In an internal memo released on Friday, a total of 41 countries were listed and divided into 3 separate groups. The first group of 10 countries, including Afghanistan, Iran, Syria, Cuba, and North Korea, among others, would be set for a full visa suspension. In the second group, a further 5 countries would face partial suspensions that would impact tourist and student visas as well as other immigrant visas with some exceptions. And in the third group, a total of 26 countries would be considered for a partial suspension of U.S. visa issuance if their governments do not make efforts to address deficiencies within 60 days. The move harkens back to Trump's first-term ban on travelers from 7 majority Muslim nations, a policy that went through several iterations before it was upheld by the Supreme Court in 2018.
Because it became so popular.
Also in the U.S., rapidly spreading wildfires swept across the Central on Friday, causing mass evacuations, power outages, and severe structural damage. Multiple wildfires broke out across northeastern Oklahoma, spreading rapidly as winds reached up to 120 kilometers per hour amid dry conditions. According to officials, the fires were reported in at least 44 counties, with over 130 separate blazes recorded. In Guthrie, at least 50 structures were destroyed, with emergency responders planning further assessments at dawn. Fire crews also reported large-scale damage in Logan County, where cars, homes, and storage facilities were engulfed in flames. Meanwhile, the National Weather Service has issued fire warnings for portions of the region and poor visibility due to dust storms and smoke. And that concludes Nightline this time around. Before we leave, let's take a look as a German runner traveled hundreds of kilometers through the Saharan desert in an effort to raise awareness on global climate change and water availability. With that, I'm Natasha Busst. Thank you for watching and stay safe.